Guitar tips, just the tips, just for you. Guitar tips. Hello and welcome to Guitar Tips and Guitar Tips Pro. My name is Adam Levy and this is my weekly video blog series. I post a brand new tip here each and every week. I actually post two different versions of each week's tip. There is the free version on YouTube. You may be watching me on YouTube right now. And then there is the Patreon Guitar Tips Pro version. Link right there down below in the description box. What's the difference? Guitar Tips is shorter videos, just a little bit of information, just enough to get you started to discover some new stuff, or maybe even some old stuff that was already there that you just hadn't noticed yet. It's really just the tip of the tip. Guitar Tips Pro, they're longer videos. I go way more in depth, more musical examples, more explanation, more discovery, and there's also PDFs of the music and high quality audio recording of the examples, and lots of other cool stuff that you cannot get here on YouTube. Little secret playlists that I make each month to share some stuff that I'm excited about, bonus lessons. I'm just starting now to do interviews with guitar players and guitar makers, and interesting stuff that's just more cool stuff. So if that interests you, and if you're serious about the guitar and want to go pro, check out Guitar Tips Pro in the link below. All right, this week's guitar tip is sevenths are active. Sevenths are active. What am I talking about? Okay, I'll show you. In jazz and jazz-related styles, there is a tendency among guitar players and you know, piano players too. There's a tendency amongst chordal players. I presume you're a guitar player if you're watching this. You might be some other chordal instrument player. Anyway, there's a tendency to turn every major chord into a major seventh chord, and every minor chord into a minor seventh chord. And of course, there's plenty of instances where a major seventh chord is the right chord, or minor seventh chord is the right chord. But there are also many instances where those chords do not require a seventh. So, for example, if you're at the end of a tune, and let's see, this is the end of some ballad. We're in F, this is the 2 chord, this is the 5 chord, that's like a C13 flat 9, and the melody ends on F. So the melody there is, so when we get to that F melody note and the chord is F, there's no good reason to make that a major seventh chord, though often people do. So that's what this tip is about. Sevenths want to travel, they want to go places. Sevenths are active. Triads, on the other hand, are static, but you rarely hear people play just good old triads in jazz tunes because it's, I don't know why. So if you're playing this song, again, I'm not thinking of a specific song right now, but that could be the end of some song, and the singer wants to sing this note as the resolve, and you play F major 7 with this F right below, with this E right next to the F. It's not settled feeling. It's going to be not so easy for the singer to hit their note just right. If you're playing instrumental music and you really dig Bill Evans, as I do, you know that's a great. What I'm doing now is a great sound. Major seventh chords with the 7 right next to the root. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. What I'm saying is that when you're playing, behind a singer or other melody person and you're comping, don't just automatically put sevenths on everything. Same with minor chords. If you've got a 2-5-1, it really feels more settled. You're letting the tritone do what it's there to do. On a C7 chord there, I'm in the key of F minor here, and I'm playing G minor 7 flat 5. That's the 2. C7. That's the 5. And when we go to F minor, before we go to F minor, inside the C7. The thing that makes C7 sound the way it does really is not so much the C, but the 3rd and this flat 7. They have a special relationship inside that C chord. That's the 3rd and the 7, or you could say flat 7. That's a really tangy interval. It wants to resolve. It could go here if you're going to major, or it could go here if you're going minor. But in either case, that E wants to go up to F. If you go, the E didn't really get to do its job. It didn't get to fulfill its special purpose. It wants to do that whether you're going to major or minor. Doesn't really matter. It wants to go there. So if you end on F minor major 7th or F major 7, you're not really letting it do what it wants to do. So in this week's tip, I want to talk about using triads and some other sounds, not only using triads, but really trying to avoid sevenths when you get to a point in the tune where what you really intend to do is resolve. We've gone on some kind of harmonic journey, and this is where we're ending up. And for this week, we're not going to play major sevenths there. We're going to play straight up triads. We might play a 6th chord. That 6th doesn't pull away from the tonic as much as a 7th does. Okay. You could have one of these kind of chords that's built in fourths. We could think of this as F6-9. People might call it that. Here's the F, and then here's the 6, and the 9, and the 5. That's a nice stable sound. I think to most people's ears, more stable than that or that. So, yes, as a side note, I just want to throw in, this is related to the get found tip, the recent get found tip. When I was talking about triads and learning all the triads all over the neck, I can't remember if I showed you this exercise. If I did, here it is again. If I didn't, here it is for the first time. It's just going around the circle of fourths in major triads and converting major triad to dominant quality. So A7, and I'm converting it by looking for where the 5th is. In this case, it's on this string because this is the 2nd inversion A triad. Putting the 7th there, the flat 7th, really to make it dominant, and then we resolve to D, and we do the same process. A7 wants to go to D. We look for where is the 5th in here. It's on this string. This is 1st inversion D chord. We add the 7th on that string, and we go to G because D7 wants to go to G, and then we look for where the 5th is. Here it's on this string because we're playing root position G triad, root 3, 5. So here's the 5, go up to 7, and now we're on C, which is the same shape as where we started. So every 3 chords you're going to be back on the same shape. So here's what it sounds like all in time. And triad-wise, that's A, D, G, C, F, B flat, E flat, D flat, G flat, or F sharp. And if you run out of neck, you can go down here, F sharp, B, E, A, D, G, C. It's a fun exercise. Almost sounds like a real piece of music. It's not. It's just a little exercise. But it's a good illustration of how sevenths are active. A triad is just a stable thing, and as soon as you put a seventh on it, it starts to lean a little bit. It wants to go somewhere. And really what got me thinking about this week, what really made me want to do a tip about this, is that one of my students brought in the song Smile that was written by Charlie Chaplin. I think it first appeared in the movie Modern Times, and then Nat King Cole had a hit with it in the 50s, I think. And the lead sheet that my student brought in, it just said F for like the first 6 bars, I think. And if you don't know this song, I'll sing just a little bit here. I hope I'm not infringing on anybody's copyright here, but just to illustrate the point. Smile when your heart is aching, smile even well though it's breaking, when there are clouds in the sky, and then it changed. So it just stayed on F. And that was problematic for a couple of reasons. One is it doesn't really give you this sense of this moving thing that's happening in the harmony. I mean, it's in the melody. So that's kind of the opposite problem, actually, than what I've been talking about so far, which is that here, this song needs a major seventh and needs a sixth, and this lead sheet completely ignored that. So keep that in mind as well, that if the melody is the major seventh, go ahead and play a major seventh. Don't play an F chord if the singer is singing E. You want to complement what they're doing. That's what comping is. Comping is an old kind of jazz term. I think originally it was meant to be short for accompany. Would you accompany me? Would you comp for me? Right? I also think of it as to complement, not to tell somebody they look nice, but to complement, to complete. Comp could be short for complement. It could also be short for compel, because you're trying to urge somebody forward, not just to passively play backing chords, but to kind of push them a little bit. So that's what comping is. Anyway, when you're comping behind a singer or other melody kind of instrument, be mindful of what the melody note is. Don't just blindly play whatever the lead sheet says or whatever the real book says. So I thought that was problematic, and I wanted to look at getting much more specific about how to play major chords in a jazz context. And so what I've done is I've written out 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, I don't know, 10, I think it looks like, little exercises that are different kind of harmonizations of basically 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. And when I get to the 1 chord at the end of each one, at the end of each little example, I don't play a major 7th chord. I play something that's going to complement a tonic melody, or in some cases a 5th melody, as you'll see. And we're just going to steer clear of landing on that. That's active. This is resolved. So we're not going to do that. We're going to go. All right. So here is, after much preamble, here is Guitar Tips Pro number 8. Sevenths are active. Example A. We're in the key of F, and I've got F on top of all of these chords. So I'll play it, and then I'll talk about it, and I'll play it again. Time. Okay, so the F is on top of all those chords. That's a cool exercise that you can just do on your own. Like, think about playing 1-6-2-5 or 3-6-2-5 and using just one note on top. It'll really show you how many voicings you really know. See how many different versions you can do with just one note on top, then try a different note on top, then a different note on top, then a different note on top. In this case, I'm keeping F on top. So I harmonized this. This is a F add 9 over A. So here's your add 9, that's the G. And here's the A bass note. So that's like a first inversion F chord with the 9 added in there, or the 2 you might say. This is dominant 6 chord. This is the 5, you could say, because normally in the key of F, D would be minor. But I made it dominant because that's the 5 of G minor, which is the 2 chord. So that's a nice sound to go from D7 to G minor. Here's G minor 7 with the added 2 down here. I'm calling it add 2 because it's not on top. Usually I would think of this as G minor 9 and this as G minor 7 add 2. Why I think of this as F add 9 over A, I don't know. I just do. You could call it F add 2 over A. That wouldn't be any more or less correct, I don't think. So F add 9 over A or F add 2 over A. D7 sharp 9, that's acting as the 5 of G minor 7 add 2. And then this is C9 sus 4. You might also call it B flat over C. It's just a B flat triad with a C bass note. You could also, but it is a C9 sus 4. That's the 7, 9, and sus 4. And then we resolve to just plain old F on top. Okay, here's the next example, B. We're going to start on the same voicing for the initial chord. Different harmony going through though. So that's F add 9 over A. And you could finger it this way, or this way, or whatever makes sense to your hands. I like this at this moment because it lets you keep the finger where it is for the A flat chord. So this is F add 9 over A flat 7 add 13. Some people would just call this A flat 13, but since it doesn't have a 9 in it, I like to think of it as A flat 7 add 13. And then there's a D flat major 9. That's root 7 9 3, or root 7 2 3 if you like. And then here's G flat major 9. You could see that as like a D flat triad with G flat in the bass. There's a kind of a low down version if you like that sound. And then this is F sus 2, F, G, C, F. It doesn't have a third in it, so it's sus 2. And I'll give you one more example here in the key of F. So this time we're going to just start on the plain old F. Let's see. I don't know, today it's easier for me to grab these crazy chords than to grab an F chord. So there's F, D minor, add 2, and then G7 over B, and then this is C7 flat 13 sharp 9 sus 4. It's a big name for something that I just really heard by ear. I heard this as a 5 chord. It's not often used as a 5 chord. It kind of looks like basically F minor 7th with C in the bass, which, well, it kind of is. C, A flat, E flat, F. If you just play that chord out of context, I'd call that F minor 7 with C in the bass. But since we're in this 1-6-2-5 progression, I'm going to call that a C something because it's eventually going to resolve to F something, which the resolve chord is F6 over C. So here's that whole sequence again. Excuse me. Yeah. So that's examples A, B, and C. If you're watching this on YouTube, on my Guitar Tips channel, that would be the end of this tip. But if you're watching on Guitar Tips Pro, there's 7 more examples, 3 in major and 4 in minor. So for those of you in Guitar Tips land, stay tuned and take good care.